I got asked this question the other day. My mailing list. What should it look like and how should I promote it? And I think it's really somebody who's asking about investors. So, how do I find investors? How do I find people to work with? How do I find investors who might joint venture with me, who might lend me money, or who might be a customer of my deal packaging business? One of those three. And normally in property, at some point, you are going to run out of money and you're probably going to end up working with investors, even if right now you're like, oh, never. You'll find it is a kind of natural step. And here's the good and the bad. I mean, the wonderful thing is, and I sound like a right old timer, that when I got started, mailing lists and CRM systems and tech, they did exist, guys, because it was just under 15 years ago, but they were in their infancy. So what was my? So I raised. I mean, I raised millions and millions, but I raised 600. I only ever raised a million at any one time. And at that point, I stopped at a million because I thought, at the very worst, I could probably work for like 20, 30 years and pay it off, on top of my family living expenses if it all went horribly wrong. I was always really conscious of the investors' safety for their money. And also, I also took the balance between raising money where people lent me money directly and I bought houses with and I refinanced and paid them back, but also raising money where we did joint ventures. So the obligation, although there's a kind of a moral obligation with you on a joint venture, the obligation doesn't sit on your shoulders. The obligation sits on the property. The property has to be sold before the JV partner gets their profit and before you get your profit. So there was a risk, and obviously in a JV partner takes a greater risk because the risk is on the property, but they take a much greater cut of the profit, which is, I guess, the balance really, isn't it? So I always had a kind of balance between the two of raising straightforward cash that I was personally obligated for and kind of like, pinned to the wall for, and also raising joint ventures money where it was on the property to be sold and we were both in it for the risk and the JV partner got paid more. So I hope you understand the difference between the two. And so the good and the bad, if you like, for me was CR systems were really expensive when I started. I mean, oh my goodness, we now use a CRM system called Keep. It's for somebody with quite a large database, which we do have, KEAP, but there are so many out there. So CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. And what's things like HubSpot, things like lessannoying.com, that's probably your cheapest one. MailChimp, they do a free version and then they get you onto the paid version. If you look up CRM system at the moment, the prices are just so ridiculously low compared to what they used to be. Now, the benefit to a CRM system is that first off, they actually already follow quite a lot of good practice, and they've got lots of training videos that help you follow good practice for things like GDPR, for just email kind of hygiene and email, good practice. And they'll often have people that will be able to help you and coach you within the CRM management. And that's really quite useful as well. Account managers that they call them, in Keep, they call them success managers. Yay. And things like GDPR, they're going to be quite mindful of as well. So you'll get a lot of help on your data side. And the other really good news is if you've never heard of tagging, which is what the words is, let's call it segmentation. So you may segment your investor clients or people you meet at property events. So you go out to a property event, you meet a whole load of people, you come back with 20, 30, 40 business cards. My technique was always old school. I was there, I would write on the business card part of the conversation I'd had with the person. I'd maybe write what they were wearing, so I remembered them, or maybe they had a particularly pretty dress on, or a really nice jacket or suit tie, or whatever it was, and maybe we had a great conversation about XYZ. So I'd write that down. If they told me how much money they had, I'd write that down as well. If they told me what their goals were, I'd write that down, all on this little business card. So it was all real scribbled on. I would take a pen, paper, and write that down. And so when you're putting them in, when you or your VA, virtual assistant, is putting them into your CRM, your customer relationship management system, like HubSpot, MailChimp, lessannoying.com, or Keep, it would be a good idea to A, put in a description, and then B, put in what I would call a segmentation. So if somebody's saying, I've got no money at all, you'll probably put a tag saying, has no money, right? But hungry to learn. So you might create a tag saying zero budget or zero investment budget. Okay. When somebody says I've got 50 grand, you may have a tag saying kind of, 0 to 50 or 10 to 50, 50 to 150, 150 and above. I mean, that would be how I'd segment my guys, like 0 to 50, 50 to 150 and 150 and above. So you can create tags which then allow you to run a report. Stick with me if you've never used this before, to say how many people in my contact system have got 150 grand and above. For the moment you land an amazing deal and you can't think, oh, who did I meet? The other thing it can do in your CRM system, if you segment them on the kind of how much money they've said they've got, is you can then run a report to find out how often you'd contacted those people. So if somebody had 150 grand and above and was looking to invest, so you might have a tag saying not currently investing, you might have a tag saying looking to invest, for example. So you might run a report. How many people I've got with 50 grand and above and looking to invest. So those two tags come together, and you would probably focus on having conversations with those people in your fundraising campaign. So really what a CRM system does is it kind of allows you to have a glorified Excel spreadsheet where you can run reports based on criteria that you yourself choose really, really quickly. And oh my goodness, if I had a CRM system 15 years ago, it would have been so much easier for me. I literally had an Excel spreadsheet and I put everybody into it. The other things that I put in is where did I meet them, when did I meet them, and if they were maybe a full-time investor or still working full-time. I mean, their situation will change. The other thing that we used to do when we did a lot of phone calls, we're now an online business, is we used to have call 1, call 2, call 3, call 4, call 5. And we actually had calls up to 25 calls, although we didn't do many at 25. And we also had voicemails. And because typically your investors won't invest with you until you've done between 5 and 9 calls or touch points. So again, you might want to run a report saying how many people in my database have got 50 grand and above, are looking to invest, and I've had 5 calls with and above. So you'd put in, 50k tag or 50 to 150k tag. You put in a investor tag, and you put in call 5 tag. And every investor that had 5 calls comes out in your report. So those are the people who are probably closer to choosing to invest with you. And it would also allow you to monitor your fundraising campaign. Investors won't work with you until you've done 5 to 9 touch points with you, typically. I would really be aware of somebody that meets you and goes, yeah, I'm investing, because that's kind of slightly, not unstable behavior, that's too strong a word. That's irresponsible behavior on their own part, which would worry me broadly about their general investing focus, if you like. I want somebody who's a bit measured, who takes their time, because that's actually a more mature way of doing business. And it also means that if things go wrong, they're not going to jump. They're going to go, right, let's think about this before we can resolve it. Because things occasionally do go wrong in property. So it would allow you to see who you've missed and who you've been calling, and it allows you to see how many investors have I got at call 9, call 8, call 7, call 6, call 5, and then blimey, how many people with money in my database have I got below call 5 that I need to get up to between call 5 and 9 so that they're really cool and happy and ready to invest with me or have said no. You'll probably also put a tag in saying decline to invest. Well, that's okay, and you can say have a second tag saying contact in 6 months, or has decided to never invest with me. So tags are basically a shortcut way of you tagging the contact in the database so that you can then segment your database on criteria that's important to you. So the question about my database, what should it look like and how should I use it? It's amazing to have all this tech, but the last thing I want you to do is think, I can just chill out now. I've got a database. The money's coming rolling in. No, it's still old school. Pick up the phone and phone the investors. It's the human relationship. I mean, since time immemorial, the Romans with their togas used to sit around baths, didn't they? And presumably we think they were doing business. Since time began, human beings are in relationships with each other. So data is great, technology is great, but it's only there to underpin what needs to happen, which is one human to another human saying, hey, I'm doing this. I think it could benefit you. No, thank you. Or, yes, please, tell me more. And then tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. 5 to 9 touch points. Yeah, do you know what? I think I'm in. Let's do some business together. So old school business counts. It's just that compared to when I started, you have got such a jump on from where I was. And I raised 600 grand in less than, oh golly, I can't remember now, 3 or 4 months. I forget now. I'll need to look back at my details. In order to buy myself my first £1.8 million property portfolio and then jumped out my day job. And that was money lent directly to me. I also used to have a roughly, más o menos in Spanish, I used to have about 50 investors a year in a deal packaging business, and they all paid me £1,000 membership fee for the year to be one of the VIP members who would receive the deal. So again, that deal packaging business was brilliant for the investors, but also brilliant for me because I got paid quite quick money and I reinvested it in property. So as you progress in property, managing the data, managing the contacts that you make in property could be super useful. Because you don't want them in a shoebox and you don't want to go, what was that guy's name again? The really interesting one who? No, have it in a database and you'll be able to look it up super fast. So I hope that's useful. And good luck to you. So it's quite technical, wasn't it? Quite technical, quite in the weeds. But sometimes you've got to be in the weeds and sometimes you've got to be strategic. So if you would be a honey and like the video, if it's been useful to you, because that will help it get to other people, definitely have a look at subscribing to the YouTube channel so that more videos can come out to you. And also have a look at the website. It is thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk. Tons of stuff on there for you. Right, see you soon. Good luck. Good luck to you. I hope you enjoyed that vid. There is 101 lessons pack if you haven't downloaded it already. 102 pages. I don't stint. If you just click on the link over there, you can download it now.